This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Roll call, Cal.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. LaShear. Here. Mr. Kish. Here. Mr. Jensen. Here. Ms. Holloway. Michelle. She was here. I can see her. She's logged in. Mr.
Yeah,
Cox.
she's here.
Ma'am, you have a quorum, and the first order of business should be the approval of, or the allowing the.
No,
Ms.
pledge of
Holloway.
allegiance. Oh, allowing Ms. Holloway to.
Finding exceptional circumstances.
Yes,
So moved.
second. All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Can we please stand for the pledge?
Pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an item before the approval of the agenda.
Yes, there has been suggestions, not among each other, but three of you, to come up with a program where you could allow all audience comments at the beginning of the meeting. I just put together some things that you might want to consider on that. One is how the county handles it. And so that's there. And primarily that identifies getting things on the agenda.
Yeah.
If you combine it all, I would recommend that people sign in to speak. I put together a form, take any agenda items, if they're talking on that first, and then any other comments on that. Keep it to 3 minutes and don't debate. It'll just go on for hours and hours. So if you just take the comments, then if it's something that you'd like to see follow-up or a response, refer it to staff or individual supervisor, somebody to, research and put something together for it.
And then put it on the next new business.
It'll be on the next,
New business.
or whenever they request it at the end.
Yeah. That's
So,
good. That's
Is
good.
that good?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Can we start today?
You could certainly start today. I've got a form that I can put out front, that if anyone would like to speak, either on
And
agenda items or not, please sign this form here. And
Okay.
How is this different than what?
Yeah,
Does everybody understand?
do you all understand what we're saying here? Okay, I was afraid of that. I don't think this is on.
I might not be, I don't know.
It's a red light on.
Red light on.
Some of us, without knowing it, have contacted Cal over the past month. And we had concerns that you can't ask us questions and you can't make comments. We understand that it says audience comments at the beginning and audience.
Great, we can't hear with all the other talking going on.
Okay, we'll talk. Okay, let me start over. Let me say it another way. I have sat where you're sitting for a long time. And I used to get frustrated because you couldn't ask questions, and especially that you had to wait till the end of the meeting. That's not something we designed, that's just the way it's always been. However, it doesn't mean it can't change. And it's not a trick. It's not, we really have never had to give it a second thought. It's just the way it was always done. But evidently, some of us, I, want to move it up to the top of the order, is what we call it. There's no reason why we can't, if we choose. So that's what we're going to do. Another thing is, we have a twofold problem. You should all be able to speak with us. You should all be able to ask us questions. That's the way the county does it. County does it twice a month. We can only do it once a month. You have, in every 30-day period, the residents only have one opportunity, that's to speak to the board directly. So we want to make that as streamlined as possible. We hear that, and that's kind of always been the way it is. So that changes today. The one thing we're going to ask of you, and one thing we're going to insist on, is there's not going to be any more rushing the stage. That's done. There's not going to be any more ganging up on us or arguing. That's done. You have legitimate things to say, absolutely, you're going to say them. If you have a question, you can ask any one of us individually, or you can ask whoever that's up here that can answer your question. Or if we don't have the answer, we're going to research it. We're going to email it to you immediately as soon as we get the answer. But we'll probably have the answer. So the one thing I missed is, are they supposed to sign one of these if they have a question? So just to keep it in order, if you would just fill out one of these, you can do it right now if you want, okay? Take your time, we'll wait a few minutes. And then we're going to take turns with this. You can ask your question, you can make your comments on whatever you want regarding to the district. And we're going to do the best we can to answer them. But we're not going to engage. That's the one thing, the first thing you'll notice is we stopped engaging. That was a test. We did that because we're killing hours of time on personal opinions. So we're going to try and keep it real factual. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to, you make your comments, but one at a time. Okay?
I believe if you're going to answer questions from the table, I think that's a board decision.
Right.
Because
Okay.
the audience comments is to comment.
Okay. What about
And then in this questions, that could be stated too, comment, question, whatever they want to say.
Okay.
Limited to 3 minutes.
Yes.
And it is, then you can refer it to a staff member or a board member to research it and prepare a response. We can send it back to them, or it'll be at the next meeting.
But you're going to have answers? Quick.
There is a sign, there's one sign-in sheet for anyone wishing to speak. There's a section on agenda items, then there's a system on, or a section on anything.
Non-agenda.
Fill it out, then what we'll do is pick it up before the audience comment section, give it to the chair, and the chair will go through the audience or the agenda items first and then the other.
And this is at the top of the meeting.
That's at the, right, that
This
would
is
be
for the top of the meeting,
item number
not
4.
the end. Item number 4.
Which would be down.
No, well, you still got approval of the agenda.
Approval agenda, so we're going to do the agenda first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to add actually 4 items to the agenda. Under new business, I think we need to discuss the request from Durham Fish that was sent to us. Number 2, I think we need to discuss the disbandment of the CID, the Joe Levy poll. Number 3, I would like to make sure that we discuss making sure that YouTube, we continue to put everything on YouTube.
Okay, it's only after a year.
Right, so let's
Okay.
drop the ones from, we'll talk about it when we get to the YouTube part. And last, I would like to move, to make it official, let's move item 15, audience comments, to item 4. So that way it's legal.
Now, I have a question. Does that mean that both audience comments will be at the top of the order?
That's correct.
And there won't be one at the bottom?
And they'll be combined.
Okay.
The other thing would be to Mr. Case is here, and he's got a early flight, and it was requested that item 12B be moved up whatever you want, but earlier.
Why don't we just do it?
Do it now.
Let's do it now, before 4. Let's put it at
Okay.
3.
All right.
3A,
So
4 down.
item
whatever.
12B,
Will be now
Will be moved
4,
up
and
to
everybody else move
4.
down 1.
yeah. Okay, and I sent you a email last night, and we've covered the first one. We have some security concerns at the water plant, And that can either be handled under Mitch's report, or we could put it under the district manager report.
Either one.
Either one.
Okay.
Can we do that under my report?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be
7.
7C.
Yeah, 8C.
No,
Because
8
you
is
moved
never
it- you
here.
moved everything down.
Oh, yeah.
And then under the manager, 9E would be website posting.
Okay.
Michelle just texted, she said she can't hear.
Let me make sure I've got my speakers on. Echo. Let me see. Gabby, can you hear?
Nobody's hearing. Does anybody?
I can hear you, Carl.
Yep.
Was that Michelle?
Was that Michelle or Gabby?
That was Gabby.
This is Gabby. I can hear you.
All right. You sound like,
Hello,
Yeah,
There you go,
Michelle.
Michelle. Can we hear you?
this is Michelle. I called on a different phone. I still can't hear you on the original one, but I borrowed my husband's and it's working. So I'll hang up on the other one. Okay, thank you. Was I the only one with trouble?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe want to check your
Okay.
phone.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
right, so we're,
So we've moved 12B to item 4. Item 4,
Everything else moves down one.
everything else
Yeah.
goes down.
so you drop item 15, and it would just become part of, and we'd strike agenda items, just say audience comments.
Yes.
Madam Chair and Board, if I could also, under item 11C, because all the other activities have not finalized in the golf cart, we can change that to the deed restriction draft discussion for parcel 13. I know it's mentioned in Kale's cover letter, but it's not an agenda item.
Yeah, I thought it would be under parcel 13, which would be item 4 now. The deed restrictions, all of that. I thought that would be,
That's bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, be good because he's here.
okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But when we get to the table, the golf cart use, it's only because of other items that have taken up. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll move, we approve the amended agenda.
changes is made. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
There you go.
Whose kid is that?
All right, so now it would be audience comments.
parcel 13.
Parcel 13.
That goes before?
Yes, we moved it
Oh,
up.
all right. Okay.
So he should get out of here.
Would you like to use my?
Yeah, just
Yes.
grab it, take it right under.
Good morning, board and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lindsay Case, and regarding the parcel 13 purchase, as I got the earnest money in to the counselor's escrow account. I retained an engineer called Grainer Minor. And I have a transportation engineer that'll be looking at all the intersection needs of this, and how that back there may relate to what happens on Highway 41. I have the land planning attorney right here, Mr. Yovanovich, perhaps.
I know, Rick, yeah.
Rich Yovanovich, and so he'll be doing the land processing. I have met with a few of the neighbors, Mr. Steve McNamara. Was really great to host a couple community meetings regarding the covenants and restrictions. This was the document that he had suggested, and it's the covenants that and restrictions. We thought that would be a good place to start. And so through the due diligence period that ends June 22nd, I mean, before we know it, we got a holiday weekend, then I've got family things the first week of June. I'm expecting that by mid-June, your counselor will take a draft of that, and then any other particular inputs. I've met with Deb and some of the input that she's given from her neighborhood friends. If there's anything else that the community thinks that needs to be part of how they come to know more what's happening, I think that document is the best thing that had just come to light. And it was, let's look at what's already there with all the homes on the K side there. And let's use that. And if there are new updates, that one actually has an expiration, which I just don't understand. I've only known covenants to go perpetuitous with land. So that would be one of my assumptions, that it would go perpetuitous with land.
Yeah.
And were there any questions?
Yeah, I think this one already expired.
This expired.
This came up.
Yeah, what I would suggest also, though, Ken,
Yeah.
I would suggest that you make copies of that and distribute to all the board members. If I can get a copy also.
Is
And
that different than what you sent us? You've got one in your,
it's not what I sent.
No,
Okay.
it's not what he
I
said.
prepared a draft.
Because,
This is apparently a
Right.
copy of former covenants.
okay.
right, this is in effect when I moved here, but then I followed up,
I don't
it was
understand
expired.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to get into the weeds on this,
Right.
but in Florida, there's a statute called the Remarkable Record Title Act. And that covenants restrictions expire 30 years after the root of title. You don't want to get into all that. But there's a specific statute that says if you want to keep your covenants alive, you need to mail notice to the parties, you need to record, keeping them, there's a separate statute in Florida law to keep the covenants alive.
I did not know that.
I won't put on that rabbit hole right now.
That's good to be aware of it. My new counselor, as I retain him as of about a week from now, he will be the one that will actually do the legal integration of the district's input and my company's reply. Any other questions?
Lindsay, I've had a couple people ask me this, and I forgot to ask you this. We've talked about it, but I forgot to ask you this, so I got to on the spot a little bit. Not on the 49 acres, but on the dormitory parcel. There's been a lot of discussion about a lot of things that you could potentially do. And the thing that the residents that stuck with them evidently is homes. But you've also recently talked about multi-floor, like condos,
Sure.
which is something the residents, not that we have anything to say about it, but we'd really rather not have that. As
I'm going to reply to that real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Quickly. Absolutely, the plan that we attached is total residential. I only was inquiring in how I'm beginning to proceed. If the community absolutely wants only those to be 9 residential lots, then that's what they'll be. And I'll include them in the zone change. If not, then I would go do it as according to how it's zoned, like the dormitory, you know. So I have left that parcel as a non-priority for me. And although I'm just figuring out if the board is that concerned that they want it exactly how it's attached, that's exactly how it will be delivered.
The other issue on this is the North Hotel. And I know David and Ray had participated in a meeting with Mr. LaCastro and staff, and there's a willingness to transfer to the CID, but it can't be turned over, sold, it can't be turned into some type of a private use. It could be left as open space. The other thing it might allow us to do is get a road on that side. A road is certainly within your jurisdiction and authority, but I think I would like to have the staff authorize, or the board to authorize staff to pursue the transfer of that property over to the district.
If I may, the way we discussed it, everybody was in that room, the property manager for the county, everybody, all the decision makers, which I thank Rick LaCastro for. I gave him a week's notice because of Lindsay's schedule, and he made it happen. 2 things. When we walked in the room, they didn't want to talk to us. Rick did, they didn't. And they thought we were just another developer and a factory, this, that, nothing. Lindsay took out his checkbook and said, I'm here to buy that land right now. And then they came up with every reason why we couldn't buy the land. He couldn't buy it. So he said, okay, I don't need to buy it. What I need is, my engineer's telling me, I just need that curve ironed out and keep the land, do whatever you want with it. And they came up with every reason on earth why maybe the fire department wants it, maybe that, none of them want it. And they don't even know where it is. So LaCastro put his foot down, and the property manager, and he said, look, Collier County's not in the real estate business. I want it gone. You figure out how to do it. I want it gone. And he's moving it fast. We put Lindsay in touch with Janet, who's the property manager, very sharp lady, very big job. She gets it. So it would have to remain open space, which is what we want. It's adjacent to the pond. It would be your approach coming in, and it would be, I think, free to us, no taxes on it, and it would be community open space. Am I right?
Yes.
And the CID.
If that's what the board decides.
Yeah, if that's what we decide. It doesn't mean the evil CID. It means the community owns it. Okay, and it's open to everybody, not just the people living back there. And it's open space, which I believe is something that everybody wants. Okay.
And you did say the word free.
But
They
that's
think.
what we negotiate.
That's the assumption.
But they might want what they got into it for, tearing the
Tearing
property.
it down.
But then you said we couldn't do anything with it.
That's the state
No,
open
we
space.
can't sell it, couldn't give it to Lindsay, we couldn't sell it to another developer.
No, but could we sell it to Lindsay?
No.
Okay, so it would be ours.
It
and we
would
would
have open space,
Right,
park,
and
whatever.
possibly we would have to pay whatever they've got into it, which is approximately $400 for tearing down the old hotel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would be, okay, all right.
So we need to find that part out.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
to definitely.
Well, I've got to call into that lady also.
Yeah, but when you say open space, does that mean like you couldn't build a community
And
center?
put any,
No, you can do anything that's of public purpose.
oh, okay, I thought it had to be open space.
Yeah,
That's the easiest to move, but, you know, it's a park, it's open
The
space.
reason I'm asking, you may be right, is when we were in there, one of their hot buttons was open space, parks, natural. That was their big thing, and low density, oddly enough. That's what they were hot on. So I would just make sure of that.
They'll tell us what.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so if we get a motion to authorize staff to pursue the transfer of that property to the CID.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Michelle?
Michelle?
Did we lose you?
Michelle?
You see Michelle on there?
I'm here. I keep forgetting to take it off mute. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Now, do we want to discuss the brain dead, the restrictions now, or do you want to wait?
We don't have them.
Yeah, but we don't have it. Everything I've received through the website has been sent to the board. And there is a draft memo in the draft agreement
I
Tony put
guess the
together.
question is,
That's in the book.
does the board want to wait until they review a copy of what Lindsay provided
Yes.
to, and then we can read them both at the same time at the next board meeting?
I think I'd rather just read a finished copy rather than drag this out or have any confusion. Can't you guys just put together a bottom line and we can just go through that? Because otherwise, two different copies is going to be confusing.
My only question would be, on some of what I read, let's say like the size of the home, I've seen 3 sizes. So when you say a finished copy,
Whatever, well, that's what I'm getting at, a final product.
As long as Madam Chair, that's an excellent point. Because one draft had the blanks. I don't know what the board thing is.
Yeah,
Or if
and
the
I've
board
heard
even
three
wants
numbers.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But we need a final draft.
For discussion.
But you can't get final unless it's decided what size.
Right,
That's my point.
or if it's,
Or if it's even necessary.
Yes,
so when do we do that?
Well, I was just saying,
I thought now.
yeah.
That's what I thought.
If there are any highlights that we have questions on, why don't we do that now?
Well, yeah, what might be possible is that you have the board's comments on the draft that you have,
That's correct.
and that the board's comments as to the document that Lindsay handed out this morning could be made at the next board meeting, and I will look at it along with staff in between and see if there's any board. So that, like from what Lindsay gave us, we don't want, and then the staff can also provide that. So we can
Right.
work through this document today. Okay. And then, if necessary, maybe have a modified version for the next board meeting, and then your input at that next board meeting on what Lindsay gave.
Yes,
Because we're running out of time with that.
Exactly.
yeah.
All right, if we're going to discuss it, I've got some discussion. First, I'm not in favor of any restriction on size.
Michelle, get on mute.
It is Michelle.
No.
Okay, all right.
I'm not in favor of any restrictions on size. I don't think you need to anti the developer by saying it's got to be 1,800 or 1,700 or 2-car garages, or it needs to be, I know, Russ, you wanted tin roofs. I'm just not in favor of tying the developer down. Let him put what he wants in there. One of the reasons years ago when we were looking for a place, we found a place in South Carolina that we really liked, but you had to have 1,800 square feet. Well, my wife and I are retired. We don't want 1,800 square feet. We want 1,500 square feet. So why put that in there? So that's my own personal opinion. That's number one. Deed restrictions, talking about how often it can be rented. I think it should be rented no more. It should be a 6-month minimum. That's what our HOA has, 6 months minimum, so that you're not having people in and out. No VRBOs, that kind of stuff. So I think 6 months minimum lease for any property over there. That's mine.
I have one, and it's on page 2 of 4. This is my personal preference, but it says what's not allowed is, it says including trucks. Now, I can see commercial trucks, but I can't see pickup trucks. Most of us own boats. We have a trailer, and to pull that boat, you need a truck. So, you know, same as Sam, my husband and I went to buy a home, and they didn't allow trucks. So we were unable to buy there. And this is a boating community. So that's my suggestion.
Was that trucks for the,
Pickup truck.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it was directed at pickup trucks. I think it's commercial trucks.
It says including
It is?
pickup trucks,
Oh.
Yeah,
yes.
it's gonna be parked overnight outside.
Yeah.
It has to be in a carport or something.
Right, now mine fits in a garage, but not everyone fits in a garage.
So if you want to focus just on commercial trucks.
Yeah,
I'm against
yeah, it's what, trucks?
any restriction. I'm against any restriction on trucks.
Commercial and other.
Well, as long as it's, what do you mean commercial?
Well,
It's
sometimes
advertising on the
some
side.
advertising on the side.
Like trucks.
I mean, you know, if you got one of those box trucks the size of a UPS truck, yeah, I got a problem with that. But a pickup truck with their lawn care logo on it, why, what's wrong with that? I don't see what it's about. And as far as all that covenant that they gave you, most of that stuff you're talking about now is in there. I don't even know if you need to apply that stuff, because that was a 1,500 square foot minimum, tile or shingles, only, no metal, and we already had no wood. So, and a 2-car garage was in there. That's in those other covenants already. It's not gonna be any different, you know,
Yeah, but we haven't seen that.
right? Well, I'm just saying.
I'd like to put in a height restriction of no more than 2 floors, 2 stories.
Is it out of Cuyahoga County restriction?
42 feet. 42 feet.
Yeah.
out here.
Cuyahoga County has some restriction.
I spoke to Lindsay about this, he's fine with this. There are 2 illegal boat ramps that go down into the canal. With 100 new homes, people coming from all over the country to Florida. The last thing, the very last thing any of us want is jet skis, power boats, stuff like that. And the only way that you can restrict that is to close off those 2 illegal ramps. South Florida Water doesn't know about them. Somebody did them with a tractor, and he's fine with filling them in. But I think we need to have that in.
Well, how does,
Yeah.
boat ramps, but that
Two
one,
boat ramps.
yeah, but that won't stop jet skis.
I don't know, how are they gonna back them in?
You got to get them in.
They have the other ramp,
There's no other ramp.
No other ramp.
Cuyahoga County's ramp?
No, just up here.
You ain't getting it from weird.
I know up here, yeah. But it
Yeah,
ends
just
down the
up
street
here.
anyway.
Yeah, just up here.
Doesn't the gun club get the ramp?
Tony, I think that lake bank is, or the canal bank is owned by the county.
It is. South Florida
I'm
management.
not sure that we could put restrictions on the county.
But the county owns
You're
it.
not, they don't know about those ramps. Those ramps aren't supposed to be there.
But I think what Cal was saying is covenants by the district only be imposed upon land owned by the district.
Right. Yeah.
Now, one other opportunity to control utilization of the canal is when the zoning goes back, it's going to be informed by the plan use development document. And there are development regulations and development constraints and development commitments. So there's another opportunity, because if you recall, the board has to approve what's submitted, approved by the council
Yes.
for the zoning. So that is another opportunity outside and be covered.
I just think that's important. South Florida manages 6 feet from the water line, all the way up there. But whatever we need to do, because otherwise that could be chaos.
Also, what I brought up last month, which was I really firmly believe this, they need to have an HOA out there. Should be part of
Yes.
the deal. They need to have it. We need to have them have an HOA.
I think that was the problem with the covenants at the caves. No one was there to enforce it.
I already got a CID, what do they need an HOA for? It'd be up to the,
No, you have a CID, look at Sanctuary Point.
Yeah.
Look at all the
That's-
boats,
that's what I mean.
everything else that's in Sanctuary Point, and the only reason they're there is because the county isn't coming down here to look for them unless
And we
somebody
can't do
calls them
anything
and
about
tells them. But I can guarantee you can drive into my community of Stella Maris. I have more power as an HOA president than I do as a CID supervisor.
so you want power, okay?
No, what I want to do is to keep my neighborhood nice.
I think we need to realize, and we certainly don't, that community improvement district is nothing more than a water and sewer department. That's it.
And common
Community
ground.
improvement, common ground. Community improvement district. We're not a master association. We're not an HOA. We're the water and sewer department and common ground. If a pipe breaks, it's on us. If there's a drainage, it's on us. If the roads are screwed up, it's on us. We are community improvement district. We are not a government district.
How do homeowners associations start? Is it the developer?
Yes.
And then they hand it over.
And they hand it over as
over.
time goes along.
That's what happened here. That's what didn't happen anywhere over there.
Same with us.
But if you have it, Orchid Cove, it's part of the CID, comes under the CID, comes under the county, but they manage their own gig.
Stella Maris South.
Down, north,
Almost all, there just isn't a community association.
right,
The master, a lot of people call it. but-
Right.
But there's, all of your sub-associations exist, and I think that's what you're suggesting, is a sub-association for this development.
yeah, exactly. It's only to avoid the problems that we're slamming into, okay? It started the first day that we were on the board with cable TV. And I couldn't believe that the big homes didn't have an association, but they don't. Had they had an association, they would have been incredibly better. And it's not just that, the whole Newport side is like that. You know, the older developments over there are single buildings that are condo associations. So,
But they have to match.
But they all have common
but they don't use it.
Yes, they do.
But all your HOAs, they all have common grounds that they're sharing.
Right.
That's the reason for the HOA. I'm not sharing my property.
Right.
You're not sharing your
Right.
property.
But it's not so much the property, it's the government. Like when you're in an HOA, you still mow your own lawn, you're still responsible for your trees, all that stuff. But you come under the
Well,
home.
it depends on whether the HOA did votes on that, doesn't it?
I don't think so. Condo association is different. Condo, then you have common ground.
I mean, you have, we put together the agreement and then have a list of those items people have suggested, including what we had, and then the board can go through and say, yes, add this, don't add that.
Yeah. Now I have one question. Isn't there land available in this 50 acres as part of the agreement for the
Yeah.
community? All right. So,
Open space, but see, he needs to, in his original plan, that land that the old hotel was on was part of it. And it was actually more than 10 acres. Because like the key is that pond back.
Right.
We want that in the open, he wants that in the open space. We want that in the open space too. But things have changed. And it all depends what the county does. If the county, gives it to us, then naturally he doesn't need to buy it. But his objective was originally to buy it, I think, and make it part of open space.
I made it clear I have no interest because I don't want to commingle the value of that asset. Really does relate between the board and the county to affect the optimal yield, which we have attached with 100 lots. And now as I'm being confirmed, the other lots will be in there too. So it's 109 lots.
So that includes the dormitory.
Right.
So it benefits him and it benefits the homes to have that open space in there. He's always wanted to do that.
Right.
And in fact, there's more open space on the north end.
Right. So there's 48, I'm only using 23 for
Right.
100 lots. Now, they may come back and I need more setback. Now I might need to reconfigure. So the open space piece would be reduced because it has to be made up in lot dimensions for actual usability. Because my goal has been to get this district 100 taxpayers in a $1 million home, right? Upwards of $1 million home revenuing into the district. I thought that was the business principle behind the sale, in addition to the capital upfront.
Yeah. And what's up in the air right now is how many homes, 109 or less, depending upon what the county engineers say, with setbacks coming off the water. He's got some guys that spit this stuff out. It's pretty accurate, but the county has to go along with it.
what about drainage?
That'll be part of it.
It's all part of, I've already had an engineer give me the estimates.
They'll have to provide their drainage.
Yeah.
But who's responsible for the drainage?
Well,
The
he's.
builder or the CID?
Builder's responsible
Builder.
initially,
Right.
and then.
You
If he decides to turn it over. Okay.
Could be a combination of times, it's a combination of the Master Property Owners Homeowners Association as to non-CID facilities,
Yeah.
and to the extent that there are CID facilities in the district.
Okay.
You have everything you need, Tony, to.
Yeah, why don't we go with this, and I'll look at what Lindsay handed out, and I'll put together a revised version for discussion purposes for
Yeah.
next week.
I just want to bring up a couple things that Deb, I think, sent to the board that I agree with 100%. No invasive plants, no farming. I know it'd be sad because we all want chickens, but no farm animals in the area.
I think it's important to have that stuff in there.
Yeah. no motorized vessels or commercial tours up and down that section. It's going to be hard to have them up there anyway,
Not having-
because it's really not navigable and it gets awful shallow. A lot of the other suggestions that you have on there are nice, but again, I don't like to tie the developer. So I just wanted to add those because I think they're ones that I think were important that they came up with. I think we need to put them.
Yeah, then there was some,
That, Sam, that was no farming operation.
No invasive plants, no farm animals.
Well, no invasive plants. I think the county has regulations.
Right.
that.
No farm animals.
Okay.
what about Carol Williams? She sent one too.
And I don't.
I'll forward that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
No
you did.
motorized
Yeah.
vessels.
I know that I forwarded it to the board. I don't know if I did, Tony.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
incorporate
but
it.
she had some good
Yeah, and
suggestions
what
too.
what I'll do also is double check some legislation out there that I know it applies to the government, so I'm not sure if it applies to private organizations with regards to allowing people to engage in certain activities like beekeeping
Right.
and those kind of items that the legislature heard enough from a lot of people saying, hey, wait a minute, that's being prohibited by local governments. We want to engage in. So that's something you all take a look at
Yes.
when we talk about the farm animal.
Right. One of the things they put on here was leash law. Well, there's a county leash
That's
law.
the county.
There's a county leash law. You can't go outside without
And that's really not a
it.
land use item.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Right.
just,
Well, I mean, just some of the things they suggested, I just want to say that those are taken care of already.
Yeah.
Vehicle registry restrictions we took care of. No garbage outside. Yeah, not unless you want to have Yogi and Boo Boo next to your house. No.
you want to require barefoot containers?
Either that or they do like, our HOA requires them to be kept inside. They're not allowed to be kept outside unless it's in a fenced in
Yeah,
area.
but that would be HOA, not the
Yeah,
covenant.
exactly. That's why the HOA is
Yeah.
important, because you can put a lot of these things in HOA.
And the HOA can also pool monies for that community.
There you go.
And maybe what they have is their own little community center, kind of like this is
Right.
for these.
Mhm, to take care
And then there could be a relationship between the CID and that HOA facility.
Absolutely.
So next meeting, staff will bring back a document with questions as far as you want them included or not. That way we can get a consensus.
Yeah.
Lindsay, what you gave Tony, I need a copy of that for the record of
You said you
proceedings.
gave it to Terry.
I gave it to
Is that
you.
what you just gave me? I thought that was your personal.
No, I have that.
Okay, if you can distribute that to the board members also. so
Yes.
they can see
Yeah.
it.
Anybody
Yeah.
else need that?
What is the date on that? Can I,
92,
What month?
What month?
January.
January 19th?
Okay, it might be,
Then if it's 30 years, it's done.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
what's the OR booking page at the top of that?
Top right, I think.
I don't see it up there.
But if you said 30 years, Tony, is that correct?
Expires.
This is expired.
No, I understand, but I think the concept was like.
Oh, yeah, well, that's fine.
No, someone wrote on there, it
Oh, I'm
expires
sorry. Yeah, I
2027.
do see it. 1090 is the OR book, and the page is something, something.
If you look at it now.
Yeah, I think I gave you a copy of that whole
A
packet.
long time ago.
Long time
And again, I think the idea is that not to assert that those are viable, but to say, these are some examples, the highlighted sections that may want to be included in what the district proposes.
The OR book is 1696.
It's just it's a good start. It's an intelligent way to begin the
Yeah.
process.
Okay, OR books,
And page 741.
it's 1696, page 741.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's called a sanctuary.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, and the other thing, you're gonna get the one from Carol Williams. and
Yeah,
forward
well,
it.
the.
You don't have it, you
We'll
sent it.
put
to
it,
me.
yeah, I've got it. And as far as audience comments, next.
Yeah, and again, if you can come up and give your name.
We could put the microphone over there.
Yeah.
Only do the chair.
Only gonna be for-
No, just your name.
Can I,
Was there?
Good out.
Jerry's got it.
I have one.
that's all right. I just want to say, when you're talking about trying to put an HOA, the reason we moved out of Stella Maris South was because of the HOA. And yes, it's great that they can tell you things, but people don't want to be told. I mean, we should all know what you can do and can't do, but come on. I mean, obviously, if you're going to let your grass grow this high, that's a problem. But, you know, we were told we had a ramp that was bad and we had to, you know, we had to fix it. Okay, so we go to fix it and someone said, whoa, you didn't get permission to fix it. Well, the HOA told us we have to fix it. Now I gotta get permission how to fix it. And I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. So I think you're tying people's hands by saying, oh, now we're gonna have an HOA. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Next. Do I have here, agenda item? Am I supposed to be able to read
The
this?
agenda's first, which is Carol. That's too much.
Oh, Pat? Yeah.
Thank you. Catherine Kellmeyer, 314 Newport Drive, 1607. On the agenda item for the Caves Monument Wall License Agreement, the last I remember, nothing has happened with it, but in the same topics of conversation, it came up painting both those monuments on K and the main monument on Newport. And if K's has gone by the wayside because of not getting anything from the owners, I would appreciate it if the board would go back and look. I think you approved having the main monument on Newport painted and the osprey nest and the tiles taken, you know, cleaned off. I would appreciate it if you'd go back and have that work done. Thank you. You were gonna do two at one time.
Well, she said
They're joined together, so we want to separate them.
Yeah.
So we.
So we got to paint them.
Just the one.
Well, so
The
the
new
new
one.
say go forward, we were waiting on the.
We were waiting on Stella Maris, I mean, on K.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we can go ahead and do.
At least do the one
Well,
side.
You get to go ahead and do Newport.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Can we want to put that in old business?
Sure.
Excuse me, yeah, it would be old business.
Yeah, I don't have the proposal. I don't know what. it was.
Yeah.
Make sure you get the osprey nest. I didn't even realize it was one. Yeah. I
Okay.
did notice that.
Deborah Jensen?
Yeah, this is
Just, first of all, question, this draft outline on the deed restrictions, was this a template or was this something that you put together somewhere, or is it something that you guys put together?
I don't know.
Tony put it together.
We have a number of covenants that we've created for other communities, and so I went through those documents and picked what I felt like we put for this board's discussion and consideration.
Okay, that is a template.
My
And,
attitude always is, well, I reinvent the wheel, did it's reasonable.
sure. And this is for the engineer, when you get to the discussion on drainage. There was a drainage issue between Sunrise Cave and Evening Star Cave, where there's a grate there. And I thought it was you and some other gentleman that went over there before last CID meeting and put up some orange cones around it. And then in today's agenda packet, it has photos of it, and it says someone placed cones around the catch basin. During this inspection, I did not see any issues with the structure. I did not do any reporting of this, but I live there. And when we have a heavy rain, that water goes right over the seawall. It doesn't go down to the ground and then to the pipe. And I believe there is an issue because it's weakening the boardwalk there. You know what area I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that up to make sure that that issue is not a problem.
So that'll be referred to the engineer.
Engineer, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Western.
Mr. Westerman?
Good morning, Ron Westerman, Case Drive. It's just a question of your discussion about taking out loans. You already have funds that are coming into CID. And my question is, why would you take out loans when they're not necessary? In business sense, it just doesn't make sense. And I think you really have to consider it also be tying the hands of CID in the future if there are other things that are in compliance. And I don't think you should be doing that either. And you got to get that some real thought.
Thank you. And Dan Truckee? I get to say these names.
Sorry at this point to talk about what's on the agenda because we're going to hear the engineer's report first on Mars, the drainages and what's going on. So the way this meeting is set up where you can't comment on the items when they come up and hear what is reported and how the conversation.
We can't hear.
They can't hear you. You have to-
All right, it's very difficult at this point to ask questions or comments now on an item that's going to come up in a few minutes on the agenda. Right, we're all waiting to hear engineers' reports and things and see which way the discussion goes on that. That's very difficult. So on here we have the updates for Stella Maris as far as the storm cul-de-sac drainage and asphalt update. Are you going to appropriate monies for that? Are you going to take over the stormwater management? Are those things going to happen in the next few years or?
Just still
Very, very difficult.
hasn't been decided.
Hasn't been decided.
Well, what he's saying, and I hear that, it's like when we get to a topic, especially like that one, that's a hot button. He gives his report. They can't ask pertinent questions. So we should have a feature. I think.
Okay.
How do we do that?
Whatever you want. You could put the audience comments on it, back at, have two audience comments.
What we do in our meetings when we run Robert's Rule of Order, we'll get to that agenda item. And when we get there, we'll pick it up as a board discussion.
Then you put it out to the.
Yeah, and then if there's someone here that has a reason to speak on the issue, we'll look at the board and say, all right, we open it to the board and we're good with that. And we'll keep it for comment and we'll close it right back up again. But that way you get to be a working part of the discussion rather than now, I can say to you right now, all right, are you going to pay for the road? It's going to happen this year. Okay, what about the drainage? Are you taking the drainage over? Now, if that discussion changes in a few minutes when we get to that agenda item, I just wasted my time.
I thought when Tony, the other Tony, was here, when I first came on the board, I thought we did do that. I thought we changed it and did have discussions after each agenda item.
The board can do that. You never had it that way. But anytime you want to allow people to speak on an agenda item, you can do that. The reason they don't is to make sure that the board has an opportunity to fully discuss first. And so that it's your meeting. You can set it up any way you want. There are some legal restrictions, and if you start crossing that line, Tony will slap your hand and say, this is bad. Okay.
What I'm suggesting is if the board opts to go that route, that I think what's helpful already to be moving along and continue to be informed is making a few minute limit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's important. So the board wishes to have people sign up for a particular topic. And then again, it's just that they want to provide their input, their suggestion, and then the board can take that into account.
That's good.
I'd like to make that.
I think it's to what?
To allow them to,
For a
like a
specific
separate line
topic.
item that would say, I would like to speak
Specific
to 8A when we get to 8A.
Yeah,
Okay.
after we discussed it,
Yeah, after we discuss this, then you could discuss. I think
but
that's a great
before
idea.
we make a vote,
That's correct.
Yeah.
then they can discuss it.
Don't call it 8A because we changed numbers.
Yeah.
Name it.
So we'll start that today.
So then we can
Yeah, we'll do that
eliminate
today.
15.
Yes, exactly.
No,
15 is gone.
when it's done.
15 is gone.
Right. So that was a motion by Sam.
Ray, take the pick.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Today.
So,
Thanks,
starting today,
Michelle.
yeah.
Where's your list?
So where am I putting?
You don't,
Okay, sorry about that.
no problem. Catherine is next, wants to speak on non-agenda items.
Non-agenda items.
I have two, and one wasn't on the list only because Ray brought it up.
All right.
Catherine Pellmeyer, Sunset Cay Lake 1600, which is part of Sunset Cay at Port of the Island Master Association. Ray, even though there are 16 different associations and 19 buildings, there are two groups, which is Sunset Cay Villas, which has the basin behind it, Sunset Cay Lakes, which is without the basin, has the two lakes. But all those individual associations are under a master association. So to say that there is no master association over there is not correct. That's my first point. The second point is on next door. I would like to thank the board for not getting involved with the next door and what has been going on with that. I think it is an absolute awful thing that's happening to both the CID and the community. And I would like to personally thank Kathy Oswald, who is not here today for doctor's appointment, for sticking up for the CID in various circumstances. Thank you very much.
Catherine.
It's on my paper.
Yeah.
Thank her.
Yeah, but Catherine, like I said, I didn't mean to say there isn't one, and I don't know what I'm talking about with that. All I know is, I know there is a master association. I think what I'm saying, and I don't mean it derogatorily, Orchid Cove has a board, and everybody goes through the board. I think I'm right in saying that over there, there's a whole bunch of different management things, and they're not once a month going through the master. Am I right in saying that?
Well, master has had in the past almost monthly meetings during the season. There are 16 different boards for each of the associations, and they have their meetings to handle their association business. It is a difficult situation, not being like Orchid Cove, where you only have one association and everybody falls into it, and you have one board.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I think
Yeah,
that
we
the
need
board
to-
has agreed
yeah.
to that debate.
Not debate, remember? We're not-
Oh, no, I'm not debating.
No, but you're discussing.
No,
Yeah.
that's fine. Thank
I just-
you.
She made it clear, yeah. All right,
Thank you.
next, thank you.
Thanks, Cal.
Is that this person?
He's not coming.
I'm sorry.
That's Catherine's name.
Sam just said that there would be 15 comments, but sometimes when you sit here and you listen to things, I don't know that I'm going to talk until you say something that kind of triggers. I'm Lisa Sager. And I'm just saying that you can't just get rid of those comments because I may not think I'm going to come and even speak or say anything. But then as you guys talk, then, oh, maybe I got a question or maybe I have a comment that I feel is relevant. So I would hate to see you guys at the end of the meeting get rid of comments because like I said, I may not have a comment right away, but after everything's discussed, I might have a question or a comment. And I would just hate to see, if we have to write down what we're going to say or what comment you think you might make, I might not know that until I'm here. And you guys are discussing things and then all of a sudden, I don't know, to me, I think.
No, we just changed it so you can talk
Right,
about it.
but yeah, you can.
But then you think of something
But
later?
I'm saying as you're, so are you going to say after each one, you're going to let us discuss?
I don't think that was
No.
what you agreed.
No.
What they
No.
agreed is
Right.
there'll be a sign-up sheet, and in the item, if you identify which item you want to talk on,
Right.
you can wait and do
For
that.
that item.
But
So you can't just say, during the agenda item, jump up and say, I want to talk on this.
well, that's where I'm saying you have a problem. If I look at the agenda and I don't have anything, but then as you guys are discussing and all of a sudden I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me or whatever, because I haven't put my name on the agenda to talk, that becomes, am I wrong at that?
Well, you do have the option to it's the first thing, the next month meeting, you have the option to bring that up at
But
that.
then you gotta wait a
Well,
whole month.
that's true,
what I'm
but we
saying.
are at the end of the meeting anyway.
Well, right, so I'm just saying, at the end of the meeting, we're still gonna be able to have comments, right? You had just said, Sam,
That's
that
not
way.
the way.
No, it's not the way we meant it.
Approve that item's gonna be removed from the audit.
We're moving
If you
it up.
wanna put it on, you can put it on that. It's your agenda.
I thought we were letting them talk after we had a discussion.
No, you have to sign up.
You still got to sign up?
Sign up.
That's-
So now they're gonna, that doesn't.
That's my point, that's exactly my point. If I don't, yeah,
So the sign up will work, excuse me, just like Dan did a minute ago. He needs to speak to item
On the
8A.
paving.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And so he wants to wait, and when we get to discuss that, I don't have a problem with keeping at the end of the meeting. I just thought since we were putting it up, but that's fine.
yeah, but I'm just saying, because if no one, all I'm saying is I may not come in and have something to discuss, but if you guys are discussing something might say, well, wait, maybe this, or, I don't know. I'm just giving my
That's fine.
consent.
Leave it. Leave it. Okay.
Is that, I can't just go, I gotta have direction.
Yeah,
Do you
and
want that on the agenda
If we
at the
do
end of the
that and
meeting?
we've
Two
already
audience
voted.
comments, 3 audience comments.
Three, yeah.
You have at the beginning, you
Yeah.
sign up. You've got to be able to speak after each any item that you sign up for.
That's
And
right.
then at the end for whatever. Is that the way you want it?
it's a little much. That's not shortening the meeting. That's,
I think the key component, if the board does that, is to keep it 3 minutes. I think that,
Yeah.
that's what's key. And then at the end, if a person wants to make comments, let them make their comments, let them finish, and then they step away from the podium. If the board wants to discuss it, the board discuss it. So you don't have, I think what's caused the debate back and forth.
right.
And that's, you know, and at times you see boards doing that, but a lot of times they'll say, okay, thank you for your comments, and directing staff. Well, the board may have questions. Right? You can't always tell.
Okay, with that in mind, I have no objection to keeping it at the end also.
Okay.
Just comments, no debates.
Yeah.
Is there anyone opposed to it?
No.
Okay.
Michelle?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Steve.
Steve?
So do we need a motion or are we,
No.
The shake of the head by everyone, it's
Yeah.
fine.
okay.
You got it, right?
Steve McNamee, 134 Windsor Cave. Just to clarify quickly, the covenants that you're saying are no longer enforced for sanctuary point. If you look on page 5 of that part, that paper that I gave you, section 304, it says the terms are 30 years from this date of declaration, that the declaration is recorded, after which time provisions shall be automatically extended for successive periods of 5 years. So it hasn't in fact run out. My comment that I wanted to make today is I was, while attempting to repair a mosquito spraying equipment this week at the district shop, Russ and I came across CID records being left out on open shelves. This is an environmentally uncontrolled area with unrestricted access to the records stored in the shop. Some of these documents have to do with the creation of ERCs.
Thank you. I think we have a discussion on that later.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
You're done.
anybody, that's it.
That's it. You're done.
I have one,
She's done.
two.
Going forward, we need to
Yeah.
just, whoever signs up.
Okay, your name?
I signed up for this.
Oh, that's just the attendance sheet.
Yeah, it's just,
Sign up.
it's something new, it's a different sheet now, but that's all right, yeah. She came early, yeah, go ahead.
I'm Rita Brackey, I'm Rocky Cove. This is a public service announcement. This is not an agenda item. We work with St. Vincent de Paul for the backpack program for the homeless. And we have every Tuesday a program where people who are homeless can come. We we give them a backpack, they refill it with food, and we have a store of clothing. They can come and pick clothing items or toiletry items. So I am asking all of your help as you clean out your closets or as you go from one place to another. If you have old clothing that's in fairly decent condition, or toiletry items that you've gotten from hotels, or they need everything. And so if you're willing to donate it, I'm willing to pick it up. So my name is Rita Bradkey, Orchid Cove. My phone number is 574-780-1464. And last Tuesday, we served 54 homeless people.
Great.
And if you have, don't sell them in your used things. Give them to us because they're liquid gold.
Yeah, I've got stuff already.
All right.
Terry, I apologize, I did not put my name on the list, I did not see the list. Can I just make a really quick comment, which I think is going to lead to?
Yes.
Appreciate it. Jason Sanchez, 227 Cage Drive, 289 Cage Drive. As far as the monument is concerned on Cage Drive and the licensure to the CID, just want full disclosure, we plan to replace the monument with the entrance of the property. So I just want to, I don't know if we should take it off the agenda just so that we're not wasting our time.
Yeah.
I think it should be really important for everybody to know that.
Yeah.
Take it off. Yeah, we're going to put something nice to the entrance of for the alley. So we're planning to replace the monument.
Yeah, okay.
We can't take it off because he owns half. Steve owns the other half.
Oh, yeah, well.
So,
Yeah, no.
unless Steve wants,
Didn't Steve consent already? I
No,
thought
I don't think
that was the only one.
But I think two separate things should be two separate owners.
Yeah, two separate
yeah, they are, but we only have, we had one bid to do a vote. As I remember, it was one bid to do a vote.
Yeah, so for 289 Ks.
Okay.
All right, take it off.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that closes comments.
What about callers?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any callers?
Yes.
All right.
Please identify
Can you
yourself.
state who you are?
Yes, my name is Karen Reed of 199 Case Drive.
Yes.
And my comment is the agenda packets, from my understanding, should be posted to the website the same time that they are sent to the board, 7 days in advance of the meetings. The district manager, from my understanding, is currently being paid to do this, but we don't get the packet as you guys get. Also, the meeting videos should be posted on YouTube the same day as the meetings. The last 3 meetings aren't on there. I think if we had the packets like we're supposed to have 7 days in advance, we have the ability to either download them or receive them, go over the agenda items, and be more prepared and informed when the meetings are taking place to be able to ask questions or listen to what you're saying and understand a little more of where you guys are discussing the items. But we need the packet, and it can be done.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing that on the agenda.
But my question is, they're being paid to do this all along. Why haven't they been?
It'll be discussed. There's
ADA
reasons. Yeah.
compliance issue.
And one of it, real quickly, is a compliance issue that we've had before with our website. And we're just trying to stay in compliance, and we can't if we do that. But we'll get into
Okay, what is,
time,
but
okay?
my question is,
It's the American
okay,
Disabilities ADA.
Is there anyone else?
okay.
All right, but we'll be
We're gonna go over
discussing
it.
it.
We're discussing it 9E.
And you want us to call upon you after this, before we vote on anything?
Well, yeah, but I get, yeah. And I guess I don't understand what specific ADA issue is not being complied.
Well, we can't discuss it now. We will be discussing it during the
We're going to
meeting.
describe it.
So we don't want to duplicate what we're doing. And when we discuss it, we'll call on you for comments, okay?
Okay, and I guess, okay, and then so we should be getting a refund then. We've been paying all along, then we've been paying for nothing.
Okay,
Thank you. We
Thank
weren't
you.
supposed to.
Thank you.
Are there any other online people with comments?
all right.
Okay,
So
we're ready to move
we're
on.
going to go to the next item, which is 4.
Approval. No.
So 13 we did.
Yeah,
approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes.
April 22nd, see if I got it. It's line 41. Supervisor Kish asked if the breakdown is $16,000 ERU / 4,000 for the sale of parcel 13. I think that needs to be 16 for the ERC, and 4,000 is for the utility connection, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Same thing, just different. We call them ERU now.
Well, they're
These are
ERC.
utility ERC.
These are
Oh,
utility
okay.
ERCs,
Right.
and 4,000 is the
Utility.
utility. So if we would change it to read
Yeah.
16,000 ERCs and 4,000 for the utility connection on
Correct.
parcel 13.
But what about what's in our rules already for the cost of a connection? Works out to $2,400.
He's just changing what's said here.
That's
all.
I mean, but it's,
Right, he's offered to pay
Yeah.
4,000 per connection.
Yeah, and we're offering to take it.
Yeah.
okay, all right.
And we don't know what it'll be when he actually does the
Yeah.
connection.
It's going to be 2 years.
Right.
Whatever market.
Well, not for utility connection.
Yeah.
That's the fee that you guys set.
It's a
It
procedure,
depends
yeah.
on what it costs to have.
Yeah.
You're buying into the equity of the plant with the ERC.
Right.
That's all
Okay,
right.
anything else? Michelle?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll move,
Good.
I'll move we accept the draft minutes of April 15th as circulated.
Isn't there
I
2?
second. I second.
Your change was on the.
Next one, was the next
Yeah,
one.
so you're doing one at a time.
I'm doing it one at a time.
All right, so we're doing the second. Okay. I second that.
I
All in
seconded
favor?
it. Aye.
Didn't hear you, Michelle.
And I'll move that we accept the amended draft minutes of the April 22nd continuation meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, second.
Okay.
Robert,
Next is Robert, landscape.
Thank you. I apologize. I thought you guys got my report from me and Michelle driving around. And also you didn't receive
I
it.
think you got to go in the mic.
There was, we did it about 2 weeks ago, but I'll check with my office, see what happened. You guys should have had the report. I apologize. It was only one small estimate that was on that package that we sent over. On Newport Drive, the entrance sign that we just landscaped, both signs, we wanted to add a little bit more plant. It wasn't a big estimate, it was a really small estimate, I think $500. Was to add a couple of more plants inside of the wall where it extends out, just to soften that area out and to improve that area. At the water plant, we've been babysitting an oak tree that fell from the hurricane. It was uprooted and we continue to struggle with it. I made the call and the decision to take it out. It was already like the 3rd time that we picked it up, so we just removed it. Basic maintenance, I mean, just regular, nothing too crazy. Your trees and palms, I mean, we're good for hurricane season coming up. Irrigation, as soon as we get, right now, it's been our priority to stay on top of it as dry as we've been. As soon as we get into the rainy season, we'll do the summer adjustments on the irrigation to help conserve some of that water. And I am still not done with your master plan for Newport Drive. I'm hoping I can present it by the following week. We've just been so tied up dealing with irrigation that I haven't had the time to come out here with my guys and reevaluate everything. And so I can present it to you guys and kind of, direct you guys the direction that I recommended as far as the irrigation on Newport Drive, the sleeve, the main lines, the lateral lines and all that, and doing a a true mapping of the entire system. I haven't had a chance, but I will get to it.
There was something that came up in the report, the drive around, about plants on Cage Drive being added to the median. I don't think Soto's doing it.
No, that's the people from the village. Put those all around the trees. There's a couple,
I don't know one plant from.
well, no, there's a couple, what'd you say, cactus type of plants that I think they've taken them from your section of back there and they put them in the median.
Yeah,
We,
but I think you need to look at it.
okay.
Well, they shouldn't be there, number
They
one.
shouldn't, no.
And number two, it makes it dangerous for your crew not knowing what they are, because there are certain cactus plants you can't touch.
The guys won't remove it until they're instructed to do so. So if you want me to take them out.
Well, I know
you say.
before this came up, and the plants that were there were like non-invasive, and
Right.
it was voted on to leave them, but now it's continuing. And
Yeah, no, they shouldn't be planting. I mean, technically it's CID property. And nothing
Yeah.
to do with them. I know they live right across the street, but that was the purpose of landscaping that meeting, was to
Right.
add something to there, but there was nothing there before. But if you guys decide, I'll just take it out next week. The guys come
Yeah,
out.
we'll take a look at it.
I will. I will submit that proposal so you guys can look at it. Maybe it's a small proposal, but I will make sure that you get it. And I will look into why you guys didn't proceed this.
Okay, can I get a copy of your comments, or was there a report?
Yes, there is. I'll make sure Bill sends out. And
Yeah,
with
it didn't
Dennis,
come out.
you should have gotten both, so.
No.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you.
thank you. Did you have a good vacation?
Yeah. Yes.
It sounds like you did.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
Okay, next,
Yeah.
Mitch.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
In operations, the wastewater plant, everything operated correctly this month. Our compliance samples were all good, no issues at the wastewater plant. On the water side, water plant ran perfectly, no issues. All of our requirements were met. Good chlorine residuals throughout the whole community. We'll be switching back over to the total chlorine next week. So Monday or Tuesday, you'll see our guys out passing out notices again, just letting everyone know. And then I'll ask Cal to put it back up on the website. So we'll be making that conversion back next week. On the wastewater side, we treated 4.2 billion gallons of wastewater. On the drinking water side, we produced 5.4 million gallons. And then the reused water sent out was 8.7 million gallons. On the meter reads, we were at 845. We had one reread. We have one current meter left to change out. It's a 4-inch meter. Other than that, everything we switched over to the electronic now. And we're reading that way. It's very, very good. Chlorine usage, 900 gallons. The preventative maintenance, the pump stations were all checked. No odor complaints at all. Cummings was out at the wastewater plant. They did some annual service on the generator again and repaired the leak sensor between the tank and containment tank of the fuel. The security cameras, I have been back and forth with the ADT to no end in the emails and phone calls. I sent that to Cal. I think Mr. Jensen has looked at it. So I can switch to one of the other companies. I can ask to be requoted, or I can leave it with you. Keep working on ADT. I'm not sure what to do with it at this point.
I'd like the contact's phone number. I'm gonna take care of it. I'll take care of it this week.
All right, let Ray try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
Very
we'll
good.
decide.
So I think I've seen Cal send you everything, so you should see it.
I didn't get it.
It was in the email chain.
Okay,
I looked down there, his contact, the guy from KDP.
all right. I'll contact, I'm not saying I'm gonna do better than you, but I have a little different way of doing it.
Good. I hope so. I would like
Let's see what happens.
Get that wrapped up.
If not, you have two other companies.
We have two other companies that quoted it, and I'm glad to reach out to other.
Who are they?
companies.
You remember?
Don't worry about it.
Do you remember the difference in the quotes? How much?
Yes, ADT was way cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Than the other two. One was extremely high, one was kind of mediocre, but I don't remember those numbers.
Well, I'd rather ADT, but let's see what happens.
Health and safety, no issues. We were all good. I did receive from Cal an email with a little note and some pictures from the well field.
Yeah.
There is I see right here, one of the locks was left open. That's on me. I will make sure those locks are replaced and it's locked up. There is a gate that closes the road to the well field, but I see people going back there quite a bit. So that gate around the well itself back there, that should not have been left unlocked. And again, that one's on me. I will make sure that it's corrected and not an issue moving forward. Also, so some pictures in here of some of the other equipment that is not fenced back there. We can try to put tasks on it and lock it up the best we can. We can get a price to put fencing around it. I'm not sure. It's never been an issue in the past, and I don't see where it would be an issue safety-wise, but I'll do what you recommend as far as having it fenced.
I have a question for you on the well fields. More than just you has a key to the gate on Union Road north of the plant. Is that correct? Back at Hatchie Strand has.
Yes, the park and recreation, the park rangers are in there all the time.
Right,
And then there are other people that have the combination as well.
right. And it's, as much as I don't like the idea, but am I right in saying that the road out to the well field is no trespassing? Like you can't just go walk out there?
I don't know the answer to
I
that.
do.
Okay.
I called the state and they said, as long as you don't take a motorized vehicle back there, you can ride your bike there. So I called a couple of years ago. I rode part when I came back pretty, so I came back. But you know, you can, as long as you're not doing motorized vehicles, they're allowed back there.
Okay. So then Hatchie Strand and you have a key to the main Union Road gate.
Yes.
And then there's another gate around the wellheads.
There's another fence around the 3 wellheads, but then the electrical controls of the wells, they are separate. They are not fenced in.
Right.
And the generator that operates 2 of the wells, it is not fenced in.
With the new homes going in,
Yeah.
I think
Could be
it's
more
going to be an
people
issue.
back there.
Yeah, it's going to be enticing for those people that want to take a walk back there.
I will correct the lock not being locked, and I'll get pricing for the next board meeting to fence in the electrical equipment.
Yeah, because there's more people going back there, I would be concerned.
I think that even from the DHS standpoint, we need to have all that locked up.
Or how?
All right. Then moving on to the records that were at the shop, at the plant, there's 3 copies. Those are the 3rd. We moved those out of the metal building and stored them in that fenced-in area.
The metal building.
They have been, when we moved them out, they went to home on test. They were digitally converted. We have a hard copy inside the plant. We have a digital copy. Those I can move into the plant. I can throw them away. I can do whatever you want. And again, this is your plant, but I think it's a very bad idea to have, I don't know Mr. McAmey, but for him to be able to go in there and do that,
No,
it's unbelievable.
No, it shouldn't have been.
we went in there because the sprayer's not working. Tried spraying the other day and it stopped spitting out the stuff and then it would shut down. So I've had to charge that thing the last 3 times because the battery keeps running out. And we were looking for tools. You got nothing back there. And and then we walked in there and then we saw a couple things and I said, okay, we got to get out. You know, so that's it.
So
But we pulled that thing out to run it. You know,
It doesn't matter to me. It belongs to you, but I'm just saying it's in a fenced-in area, in a fence or in a secured building, but.
The building's not secure. The fence is secure.
Well, I leave that one door unlocked for you, but other than that, it's secure.
Yeah.
So again.
I don't know. I didn't even try any of the other doors from inside.
We keep everything else locked, but that one is unlocked for you.
Yeah.
So.
Wasn't there an issue with the plane
Model
plane back
airplane.
there with a model airplane
Yeah.
over the Homeland Security?
Twice that we finally had to go, yes, you cannot fly a model plane. over
Yes, so-
Homeland Security.
And they had to make a whole lot of changes.
Well, every facility I have, to come inside that gate, you have to be with the operator and have to sign in the logbook.
And I'm all for that.
And that's the way he handles everything. That's one of the items we put on the agenda, and it's, we put it under bid. So are you ready to have we go in there? Now,
Well, if we had records back there, you'd have records, you'd have online. We had the cameras up there.
I have no idea why records were back.
No, not that.
Something
No, no.
Severn Trent did that.
No, I'm saying
is
if you
stupid.
had cameras in the back, you would see who was coming in, or if that keypad,
Sure.
if that keypad worked, then only people with the keypad can get in. You know,
But
it's,
they could be back there, I think the issue.
there used to be a keypad there, it's all,
Yeah, the rock pad hasn't worked.
yeah.
The records, as soon as this meeting's over, if it's not nighttime, I'm gonna go back and look at them, but I didn't even know they were back there. And
He says they're digitally recorded.
But, yeah,
So Don Bernard and Ron Benson, when we first started,
Which makes sense.
we loaded that up out of the metal building, took it to their office, they scanned everything, and then they brought it back and we stacked it in that little thing.
So these are all duplicates?
Triplicates.
Well, that's easy.
It's over.
Let's hire the shredder to come in and shred them legally.
That goes back to
Let me
Severn.
see what we got.
Yeah, I think it's important, Cal, as a records custodian, review the record.
Yeah.
And see if there are records in there that he doesn't have.
Right.
And we got to file, if we destroy them, we got to file with the state.
Right.
So I mean, I think leave that to him.
Okay.
Do you want me to bring them to your office?
Let me look at it.
Mitch, are they operating reports, monthly operating reports?
No, they're not out there. It is all like blueprints and it's some of the old stuff like ERCs and that type of.
I just can't imagine why Severn Trent put those records there.
They were in that metal building, the old building.
The one that fell down?
Was kind of scattered down and we moved them over there just to.
Why would they be at the plant, period, unless it's something that dealt with the plant? Should have, they use Iron Mountain for, dead records. They use, they got a huge building in Coral Springs. I'm befuddled. But the issue that I asked to be on the agenda is, I think this whole situation pointed to a concern. That's your potable water, and there's restrictions that are covered by Homeland Security. And so we think that we need to get the mosquito equipment out of the plant.
Absolutely. Well, where are you gonna put it?
Well, in the handouts, Mitch and I talked about it, and we're thinking that we could get a shipping container.
Great
That would
idea.
be big enough, and there's, you've got 3 areas where Mitch felt that he could put it. One would be south of the plant, one would be north of the plant, but it'd be outside the gate.
Yeah,
And we'll
absolutely.
change the locks on the gate, on the plant immediately.
The location that's shown on those drawings on the south of the plant may be outside of our property.
Yeah,
It may be on the.
I think it's on Lindsay's new property.
Right. Mitch and I looked at it real quickly this morning, but there might be a spot on the northeast corner of the plant, just outside the fence.
I think that's,
Who owns the land where you drop the crushed rock?
I don't know.
I think it could go there, right?
That's where we
Right
look.
on the south end, where they put the road stuff.
Where there's some gravel, that would be another potential place.
Yeah,
There are some
put
other
it right
places.
there.
Yeah.
And Mitch and I can look at that a little bit further.
maybe just put a fence around an area inside with a gate.
Yeah.
I mean, be outside, because this is at least.
No, it's better having it covered up.
So to do something like this, we looked at a ballpark price, and to prepare the base, maybe run some electric out there, shouldn't be more than $3,000, $6,000.
And that includes the price of the container.
You're right, that includes the price.
How big is the container?
20-footer. That's enough. You can put the mosquito sprayer and all your pump equipment in
Yeah.
there. And we'll just take the deliveries and stack them in the back for you as they come in.
How smart or not is it to put chemical in?
Oh, it won't hurt it's not dangerous.
What if somebody got a hold of it?
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be locked.
okay. I'm in.
Yeah, it would be locked, so. I'm saying as far as degradation of the liquid.
There is none.
Okay.
I make a motion, we do it. We gotta go screw it around. It's nonsense. Jesus.
Not to exceed 6,500.
You got access to those containers, those shipping containers, it's tough to get now.
I do, I called, there are some available for mine. So,
Yeah.
And that was how much, 6?
the container itself is like $3,400. Then a little bit of gravel, delivery, and run electric out, but then we have lights.
Air conditioning?
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's an office in there too.
Can we have 9,000?
You know that little building that's outside there already, there's no way we could cut into that, or, there's no.
We looked at
When
that.
I looked at that, the garage door was like 13 grand. They had to cut the building,
Yeah,
so that actually would be a better option, but it would be pricey. But it's on the fence and okay.
yeah.
Now, who has access to that building?
The mosquito sprayer.
But
That's it.
that's not Russ.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I sprayed one, I was spraying
I
once in a
thought
while.
your son was doing it.
He does.
He's the contractor. Russ helps his son out.
I do it under.
So he has access too then.
I'll second Ray's motion.
Okay. And the reason it started like that, when Severn Trent was doing it, Robert Edge, who was a resident of the community, is also a licensed operator, and he was running the plant.
Yeah, he was a plant manager.
So, and even when he left Severn Trent and went to work for the county, he still lived here. So being a licensed operator, a water operator, that's why we did it.
Okay. All right, so we have the motion and seconded.
The motion was by Mr. Jensen and seconded by Mr. Bashir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that was to not exceed 65.
All right, Michelle's
So
on
he's
also.
gonna have to prepare a base and, like I said, get electric out there, but it'll be separate from the plant.
Yeah.
And then we'll change the locks and everything else.
Yes.
You should be able to tap into that building. We're not tearing that building down.
Right now, I'll just be able to bring the electric right over there. That's it for me. If you have any
Mitch, I would like to publicly apologize to you and to Dave. When we did this, and then you guys told us that the freshwater tank needed replacement, I went right out of my mind. And I just could not fathom that. And I was saying, some heads are gonna roll. This is just not acceptable. Until I spoke with Robert Edge, speak of the devil. And he was the plant manager. He helped build the plant. He lived here. He knew everything. He said, Ray, I'm surprised it lasted that long.
Right.
And I said, how soon would you know if it was gonna go? He goes, they're supposed to inspect them every 5 years. He said, the day after they inspected it, it could go. I said, what about building a second one? He goes, well, where else are you gonna put the water? I said, okay. So I said, their plan is this. He goes, makes perfect sense. That's what I would do. Okay? And I said, Robert, it's $500,000. He goes, Ray, it's 30 years old.
Right.
I was under the impression it was part of the new water plant. So I apologize. So it was 100%. We didn't expect it, but if 100% could happen just the way you said it happened.
Yeah, I'd say a couple more things. You said they were doing the big generator. What about the two that are in the plant?
Those are done. We did those back. You'll see it on one of the reports in February or March. To be ready for the season.
So they're good. Okay.
Those are good. Yep.
And the other thing is if we do build that tank, right, then we don't need that fire irrigation canal pump station replaced.
I think with some engineering, and that's his forte, not mine, but I believe that can be done away with.
Then that eliminates $150,000 for that tank.
We're thinking it could probably be eliminated, but we need to confirm that still with the fire.
Okay.
Now, if you did that, everything would come out, the old generator would come out, the pumps, the line, everything would come out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And it would work as a backup. I mean, well, there's no backup. There wouldn't be a backup.
There wouldn't be a backup.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
But every other
facility I have doesn't, it just has redundancy, not necessarily a backup. You have a backup that has some redundancy, but not enough, but you have a backup like a plan B.
But that's gonna kill us. This makes sense. And how many gallons do they each hold? Roughly.
Let's see, the water tank is 150,000.
Right.
I think the reuse tank's, is it 200?
Two, I believe. So I think we're about 350, and we never used the whole thing, but we come really close.
So that's gonna put us in really sound shape with water supply.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right, right. We'll be able to actually, we're able to be able to rehab that existing tank and put it back in service.
Yeah.
It's not completely gone. It's just the roof structure. So we'll be able to get that back in use, and that allows us then to use the tank that we'd be looking at purchasing as additional irrigation storage.
Those are both glass lined on steel.
We've got, let's see, the potable water tank's a glass line one, and one of our,
Irrigation is glass line.
but we got one concrete.
No, one is steel with no line,
steel.
one is glass line.
A freshwater tank is steel?
Yeah, the brown one, it is steel. The two blue ones, they're glass line.
Okay, good, okay. Oh, Mr. Truckee had a question. We got into this.
I thought his question was
His
on
question
North
was on the
Carolina.
paving.
It is, but I'd like to speak to the lack of development because I have some career experience with that kind of thing. And I can tell you a little bit more what's going on. Like, anyway, 1 year.
Okay.
It started 2 years ago. 3 years ago, I took my mountain bike back there. I ride all over back there. And I was riding past the generators and the gauge and the infrastructure and well. I was battalion chief and assistant chief and things up in Green Bay, worked in the water facility plants to be
Otherwise, people really don't.
All right, so with the history, I've been around water infrastructure before, and it's locked up. I mean, the gates are locked. If they can, they have security cameras. If not, it's at least locked up so you can't just walk by and do some damage to the system and protect it. So when I took my mountain bike back there, I noticed that the covers were off the generator a couple years ago. All the switches are wide open, no locks. The gates were open. This, I brought it to Cal's attention. And then a year later, I brought it back to Cal's attention because I thought with a few dollars and a handful of padlocks, you could at least somewhat protect the system, right? So the other day, Steve and I were riding our bikes back there again, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is crazy. In 5 minutes, I could shut down the entire water plant. Literally, pull this front cutout, pull this cutout, reach in the generator, pull a handful of wires off it if I want to. In 5 minutes, I could totally take down your whole system, and you wouldn't be able to have it back up for weeks. That's ridiculous. We're not looking to say that we need a bunch of new fencing. You need locks on the cutouts, you need locks on the electrical boxes, you need to lock the covers on the generator. It's a handful of padlocks just to make it somewhat safe. All right, it's a simple fix, it's a cheap fix, and yet we don't get it done. I brought it to Cal a couple of different times, and that's what brought it up this time, is because it's still the same thing.
I will take care of that. Right? It's been a drop. My phone number is on that pin. You're welcome to call me anytime. You have an issue like that, that's what I'm here for. I work for everybody.
We just need some type of procedure that says, you know, these things got to be locked back up and we've been working on it, or whatever. It's a handful of padlocks that at least somewhat secure the system. That's what this all came from. So we're not looking for super big fixes. I don't think a fence is going to do you any more than a handful of padlocks, because you can go over a fence if you wanted to, take you 2 seconds, jump over that fence, right? And then move just what we were going to do without the fence. All right, but if the cutouts are locked up and the covers, the boxes on the big electrical cabinets, there's places to lock them. If you hang a lock on those, the cabinets on the generator and have lock spaces. If we just lock that up a little bit, this type of infrastructure everywhere else I've been is protected to some degree. And here, we're just.
Well, you'll get together with them.
I will lock all of that stuff.
It's been addressed.
It's been addressed. Take care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See how much ADT costs to put a camera on.
I was thinking, it's 1.5 miles of wire, that's the problem.
And we don't want to do Wi-Fi. Actually, you can't do Wi-Fi. I don't think. Is that it for me?
That's
right. All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We now have engineers report.
Right, the first thing on the agenda is the Martin summary, and I'm gonna pass these out. It's just a summary of where we've been with Martin and some questions about where you want to head. The first page pretty much just talks about how it was developed, and in the 2014 agreement between the CID and the Martin Master Association. And we talked a little bit about the repaving project that we did last year. The development itself, back with the 2014 agreement, basically you took over responsibility for the pavement within the development. You did not take over any of the drainage responsibilities at all.
I remember that.
Yes. The roadway itself was designed and built with an inverted crown where the water comes into the middle, then flows through catch basins, and then to their detention areas. We had prepared plans last summer, basically to do one or two things, depending on the cost and what the board's desire was. One was to basically replace the existing pavement. The second one was to do an enhancement where we would put a center valley gutter in to help the water get to those catch basins. And the prices came in higher than we anticipated, and prices haven't got any better. So at that time, we were looking at, for the basic work between $80,000 and $100,000 based on the bids we received. And then to do the enhanced project, it was $118,000 to $182,000.
What's the difference?
Again, the enhanced would have been the concrete valley gutter down the middle.
Concrete down the middle.
What that does is help move the water from the pavement to those catch basins. What they would do is build the valley gutter first, and then pave to the valley gutter from the two edges of pavement. That's a little simpler operation than try to force your asphalt pavement to drain to the middle, and then at the same time go to those catch basins. So it's a little more fail-safe system. In any part of water that we may have pond in the middle there, it would be on concrete, which is a little more stable and more resistant to deterioration. At the bottom of page 2, we do have some questions that we need to get some direction from the board on. Would you like us to rebid the project with both bid alternates? The basic design and the bid alternates are just one of the two alternates. And then the second question may be more for Tony, but I think we are not required to have bid and performance payment bonds for this project, since we anticipate it being hopefully under $200,000. And then what time frame does the board wish to move on the payment portion of the project? Do you want to have us bid it immediately and try to get you some numbers for the June board meeting, or do you want to do this in the next fiscal year?
I'll give my answer on all three.
Me too.
Rebid the project with bid alternative. No, we just want the one alternative. We want the concrete valley and repay. I think we want the enhanced, if that's what you want to call it. That's what we want to bid, because I think that's the best thing for us. That's number one. I think if we can get rid of the performance bond, that would be great. And I suggest we do it ASAP. We've been do it this year.
Yeah,
That's my personal opinion.
mine too.
Financially?
Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Right. I know we have fun.
Yeah.
Make that a motion.
I can. So move it.
That's a,
Yeah. Any discussion?
I'll second.
The signs that are going in, I noticed for the stop signs over here at Orchid Cove, it's a paving company that's doing that.
So that's done.
Yeah, but
No, but I'm asking,
I'm talking about this, the paving of what.
no, I am too, but I mean, should we talk to them about a bid?
We'll open it up again. Again, we solicited out to 12 different paving companies.
Because obviously they'll come out here.
And we'll just see what we can get as far as response.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have trouble getting response. Several of the pavers that I know of are kind of booked up until almost the 1st of August right now. But at least we can get things on a schedule with them.
So just to summarize the motion, make sure that we're right. It's the enhanced option, right?
Yes.
Nothing else. It's no bonds being required.
Yes.
And it would be done as soon as possible.
And that does not include the cul-de-sac, or it does include the cul-de-sac?
That does include.
It does include the
Yeah,
cul-de-sac.
that's the whole thing, the whole chain.
Yeah.
Now, we weren't planning on doing any kind of valley gutter in that cul-de-sac
No,
area.
that's just flat. But it's down the middle of the.
Everything drains to the middle.
Yeah, Stellaris North is where you need to enhance first.
Yeah.
Not the cul.
And I think at the time we looked at this, we checked the drainage then, right? I mean, the part that we're not responsible for, that's not causing this.
We didn't do any detailed inspection of their system, but it doesn't seem like the catch basins and so forth are blocked.
Okay.
But we didn't do any TVing or anything else in their system.
All right, I think we have to do it.
Yep, let's do it.
No,
Yeah, Mr. Chucky, you want to say something? Where'd he go?
Yes, right here. That was part one, where we're going to talk about stormwater management also.
That's the second part of my memo. And there I'm just posing again, similar questions for the board to get direction, what you'd like to have us look at. The first one, would CID want to take over the system in its entirety, or would some kind of partial acceptance be considered? The community has suggested that a partial takeover would be limited to those facilities in the roadways only, and potentially extended to the detention areas only, that you would not take any kind of responsibility for the detention areas or the discharge structures. And would the CID wish to conditionally agree to take over the Stella Marsh system based upon TVing of the storm piping and visual inspection of the remainder of the system? And if we do find some corrections or deficiencies, we would bring those forth. And then at that time, you could either undertake those yourself or have the HOA, basically the master association, agree to take and make those necessary repairs. The third question would be, as we go and take over either part or all of the system, we would need a new agreement and grant an easement between the CID and the master association for the takeover, because we do not have any maintenance agreements or easements for any of the facilities that we would be taking over. It would basically be, we may have some easements going through the roadway, but it's more specifically for the roadways and not the drainage.
Let me, on that, while we're there, the difference between Stella Maris North and Stella Maris Master, that's us, on Stella Maris South. Is that what you're talking about? Because there is in his agreement with y'all, there is that they left out the Stella Maris North sewer system, stormwater system, excuse me, not sewer. In Stella Maris South, which is my group, no, we don't have it either. Because matter of fact, Stella Maris South doesn't even own our own roadway. We, as I said, I told you all last meeting, we're trying to correct that right now. The old developer still owns it.
Yeah, I was just looking at the agreement, it's in the packet, and it refers to the villages of Sarah Masters.
That's them.
That's them.
They're not Stella Maris Master, that's us.
Villages at Stella Maris, they are.
Stella Maris Master, HOA. That's why I was just trying to get that corrected.
All right, so it'd be villages.
Yes.
Now, the last consideration is takeover of the drainage system would involve potential annual and long-term operation and maintenance costs that you need to be aware of. Annual expenses would include, if you took over the detention areas, you'd have to be responsible for mowing those and so forth, and then any kind of incidental maintenance of the stormwater system. And then your longer-term expenses would be cleaning and regrading of detention areas as natural sedimentation occurs out there, end-of-life replacement of storm structures, piping and discharge structures, and then if there's any kind of potential upgrades required by new regulatory actions.
This drainage area you're talking about is just around the roadway and that detention area on the north side. Doesn't have anything to do with the area around the seawalls.
It does. The stormwater areas are on the north side of the property, back behind the buildings.
Right.
And there's also some stormwater facilities along the east side that convey it from north to south. And then they got the seawall area.
So you were talking about exclusions. Because the
Yeah.
seawall, all that's brand new and it looks good.
Yeah. But again,
But
it's your
that's-
decision whether you want to take all or not, all or part of it, or.
Here's I'm going to just say that I'm in favor of taking all, but not only theirs. I want you to take mine too, because I think as I said, I think we need to put the water management system here under one umbrella.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it.
And all that we can take. I mean, we know that there's certain places we can't take. That's part of the CO, different condominium groups, that's not going to be taken over. But we need to take over his, we need to take over ours, and that's just my opinion. I think we need to take them and put them under
Some
one umbrella.
of the communities would be a lot easier to take over than others. For instance, the Evening Star, I think it's Sunset K over on the east side where it's zero lot line homes basically. Where it would get more difficult is in the condo areas along the west side of the CID.
Right.
And I don't, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure we have responsibilities for the Arc Cove community at this point either. For drainage?
We replaced some pipe over there before it drains into the canal.
Joe, do you know if Orchid Cove is responsible for Orchid Cove drainage or if the CID is? Yeah.
Neither are we, but.
Well, there was a big pipe over here we replaced. Remember that pipe on the west side? It was old, and rusted. I could have sworn it was fixed a couple of years ago. No, it's back over that way. It's almost to the edge of the property over there.
At one time, we identified that the roadway was CID and that the drainage was the master association.
So.
Here in Arctic Cove, yeah.
Well, then
I might be corrected, but that's what we found with the research we did with some of the declarations.
So we need to hand this one over too.
As I said, one umbrella, all that we can take in legally. Okay. And I think that's what we need.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go back to fixing the road first.
Yeah.
Just for a second, so we can get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And then go back.
Well, did you want to comment on that? On the fixing the road portion?
No, it sounds like you're so you're going to do the cul-de-sac and the road.
Yep.
That was our agreement.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, the drainage issue, you don't have to make that decision today.
That is correct.
Because it does get complex because you're gonna have to get a series of easements.
Right.
The only
Whatever.
The only comment I would make on the drainage systems, and with our new seawall, we have to go through all that. Our drainage systems are all up to date and working right now. They're according to plans, because when you put the seawall in, the builder put them right back to what the original plans were for everything. No water running over the seawall, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's a working system right now. It doesn't really need any repairs. It's working just fine. It's collecting in the pond and going out the way it's supposed to go out. And all that new ditching just made it move a little better. So that's all good. So
I think the big question that Dave has is not the seawall.
No.
It's going down the middle of the street to make sure that that doesn't have a problem.
Right.
I think that's where it's from.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting that potentially you want to do some due diligence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure that 2 years from now, not to say it won't happen, you're not inheriting a real problem.
We don't inherit $5 million contract from
The same as the
Yeah,
county
that's-
would take over our plans.
That's why I was just stating that everything is to plans. We haven't ever changed anything. So other than putting the seawall in and putting the swales back in the way they had to be, the way they were originally, it's all that.
Yeah, but we still have to be sure.
Right, the infrastructure right now, somebody correct me, is 15 to 20 years old? Where?
Older than that.
Ours is 20 something years.
So it has had a chance to potentially do some deterioration or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Suggesting that.
We understand.
We need to look at it first.
Well, he wants some guidance on that, but.
You got a motion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's vote on that.
Yeah, motion is on the paving.
Right,
Uh,
maybe with the,
Enhanced.
So,
Made the motion.
I did.
and Michelle.
Michelle
seconded.
second. Already been second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that was an aye, right?
That was an aye, right, Michelle?
Yes.
And then I'll move as in the second consideration that David wants, that we look at taking over all possible systems of stormwater in the port that we can take over legally.
Dave's working on that.
I think he is, but I think he wants
We
wants the guidance,
go
that's what
forward.
I'm saying. So I'd say yes, and that he do his due diligence to check what we're taking over so we don't get the big surprise.
And we may want to
I
do.
second Sam's motion. That's what I talked about a long time ago, taking over.
Yeah.
And some of the first steps is going to be identifying for you, those that we can take over pretty quickly.
And why?
And then as you accept that list, then we can look at doing the inspections and looking at, well, one of the things we need to do is make sure that the associations and so forth are willing to give those assets up.
Yep.
Yes. That's going to be one of the first steps probably.
And I think we can get Frank on the phone. Can you get him to sign that paper right now that y'all want to have us take it over? Because I guarantee you Stella Maris will sign the paper right now. They'll let you take over our stormwater management.
I'll defer to the attorney on whether that can be done that easily.
Just have them send it, you're not gonna take everything over.
Yeah.
No, I was just, I was teasing.
It's just going to be multi-part.
Right, okay.
Levity,
So we have
but
a-
sorry, but.
Yeah,
First
and
and
we
a
need,
second.
we've got a court reporter here.
Yeah.
So we need to speed
Yeah,
things
well,
up.
this is, we're ready for a vote on this one.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Double
Aye.
header.
That motion is just to reemphasize
Look
your
into,
priority
That's
to
correct.
actually
And to have him do his due diligence for us.
Next item on there's new home drainage.
It's a board meeting, Joe.
Question on that.
Well, whatever you guys think.
It's relevant to Madam Chairman, I think the protocol is if someone wants to speak, they need to sign up.
Yeah, and it's at the beginning of the meeting, not
Yeah.
in the middle of the
Well,
meeting.
like what she discussed, things come up during the meeting that. Madam Chair,
all right, but that's, yeah, we need to move forward, right?
Right, again, if the person wants to speak, they need to sign up, and I think
Yeah.
3-minute time period is what the board has indicated. So, Mr. Levy, if you could sign up.
Real quick about new homes and construction out there. A lot of the homes now are starting to wrap up a little bit more. The peak is kind of starting to go downhill now. That we don't have a whole bunch of new houses under construction. One of the things that Cal had mentioned, and we started to do some work on, and we'll be doing some more work on, is identifying some of these sidewalks, driveways that have grade differentials that may become a tripping hazard that the district would be responsible for. So we're going to have somebody coming out here doing some of that visual inspections and so forth, putting some levels
So
on
that's
it.
being done now. Chris does that.
Yeah.
He does the sidewalk inspection, maybe once a year. That's part of the
Yeah, because
service.
he just looked at one that I had noticed.
Yeah, I mean, he's only identifying broken concrete trip hazards, where there's anything that's a half inch or greater between slabs.
Okay. But again, if you got that list, then we can go ahead and take a look at how you would like to proceed as far as making
Yeah,
any
because
kind of
the
corrections.
one I mentioned to him, it looks like the sidewalk is sinking, but Chris feels the driveway was high. And that house has been there a long time. I could see the driveway being high on the driveway side, but not on the other side of the sidewalk. That I thought was odd, that they're both high.
So what we can
that's
do is
like-
party with Chris on
Yeah.
that.
I think it was in his report.
Okay. And at that point, once we get this list, then you can decide whether we want to go in there and what kind of repairs are being required, who needs to be responsible for those
Although
repairs.
there's still construction next door to me and they're going over the sidewalk.
Right. It's going to be somewhat of an ongoing one, but you do have some out there that do have deficiencies even today.
Okay.
Stormwater project, I got 2 other engineers helping me on this, push it along a little bit quicker. we got Rick Berlansky, who's got 30 years of experience, probably closer to 40 years of experience, and then another younger engineer with about 5-6 years that's going to be helping me. The next step is we're going to go ahead and set up a meeting for early June, hopefully with South Florida. Get in there and go over what we've got down here, what needs to be done, and see the next steps. Now, on the interim basis, if you want to do some things to help us through this next rainy season, we do have a list of things and kind of a priority list. One of the first things would be to go to all the control structures, clean out that area right in front, remove any vegetation, remove any kind of dirt that's built up against that baffle so the water can get underneath that baffle and up to the notch. So we will have to take out some shrubs and so forth if people plant directly in front of it. If you'd like, I do have some pictures of some of that going on. Here it is. And you don't need to look at it real close right now, but this is just give you an idea about what's out there.
And if there's growth there, we have to notify the homeowner.
I'm sorry?
If there's growth in the areas you want to clean out, do we have to notify the homeowner first?
I think if it's within our easement, we can clean that vegetation out without any notification. Yeah, it's a The second level would be to take a look at the discharges from the roadway in the case 2 area that lead from the roadway back to the rear yard swales. That's the next area that probably needs some attention, some cleaning up and so forth. The pictures are all tied to those drawings in the back, those picture numbers, and there's a little description on those too for you. That would be the second level. The third level would be, we've got prices a while back. We're doing those modifications of the sidewalk. We try to, the flumes, try to push the water through there. That would be the third thing you might want to consider on an interim basis. And again, those are all things that need to be done anyway for the most part.
So we're just talking about bringing it back to the standard that should be there, right? We're not changing the whole plan. We're not looking at changing the whole plan, drainage plan. We'll just bring it back to ground zero.
Correct. And we can check with Cal, see if he's got somebody on staff that could do some of that work, or whether we need to actually try to get somebody. Well, Mitch might be able to do some of that work too.
Mitch probably, because they're here, but some of that, Chris does cut the grass, not like regularly, but as it starts getting high. But he doesn't look at the silt that's in the fruit. So I think that's the bigger problem. So, but a lot of that, the new system that you're making reference to, Mr. Tisch, is the plan that he's putting together, looking at the entire system.
Right. To see where we're.
That's separate from this.
So you're making our system as it is now.
Correct.
I don't want to use the word put a Band-Aid on it because it's a lot of it's just pure maintenance.
It's just maintenance, because we haven't had the maintenance really.
Right. But that's what I mean. We're not going beyond that. In other words, you are looking at a different plan?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to look at modifying what we can do through the district and so forth, and then we'll work from there. See what kind of modifications.
We're looking at doing stuff that we don't have to contact anybody.
Sorry?
We don't have to contact anybody. We don't have to contact Southwest.
Correct. This is all.
Management, nothing.
This is 100% maintenance.
No.
In the future.
No, what this is, in the future?
The big plan, yes.
Yeah, in the future, we're gonna have to do.
Well, why don't we see if we bring this back to where it's supposed to be?
I agree with that.
I wouldn't start planning anything. If we're finally bringing it back where it's supposed to be,
That's not
see how it
the
works.
direction
No,
you
that's
have
what we
given
said, to
Dave,
look
that
at the
you're
whole area.
changing. That's one of the reasons this is stretched.
No, I
out
never
so
said
long.
that. I never said that.
I did.
It was the last
Yeah.
meeting, I believe it was either vote or
We
meeting
talked
before, you
about it
guys
several
told David to get, look at drainage.
Remember he said he had to get surveys and everything on easements?
Well, yeah, come up with a plan, but now that he's come up with a plan,
He hasn't.
This
The
is just
working one.
temporary.
That's just.
that's the plan.
No. The plan is for the whole thing.
Well, that's the plan to me.
No.
You go to that level, you go to that next level, you're talking about costing the community a lot of money,
Exactly.
a lot of money. So
Exactly.
let's see if this works before we start directing him to go beyond the fix. That doesn't make any sense to me.
This isn't gonna fix
No.
How do
all
you
the
know?
problems. Well, honestly, you really wanna know? Mr. Levy sent us very in-depth email, the board member,
Yeah.
from Spain. And with photographs, we all got it. And this freaked me out. I mean, it's been let go, according to this, at least 12 years, if not 15, by the previous boards, not us. And none of us were aware of this. And it's a big, big, big thing. And it's all right here. So we brought in 2 new engineers, and that's why we went with the GIS system, so that as soon as we can, we're going to address this email that he sent. This is, I don't know, how much do you think it is? $1 million? Couple million? Yeah, I'd like you to, because you wrote it.
We're gonna get forever. And you got a court reporter here that you guys said 11:30, and she's charging you hourly.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would suggest that, again, all due respect, because the speaker wants to speak for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Levy has signed up for 3 minutes.
Right, okay.
That's it.
Well, that's not what I signed up for. I'm answering this question. So I'd like to still ask my other question. I met with the head engineer of Collier County. We spent 3 hours walking the port of the island. He came up with some very interesting suggestions. That was after I wrote this letter. He satisfied a lot of my concerns that I addressed in this letter, and I would be happy to share that with you. We wouldn't have to go through all the expenses. He told me how to fix the problems. I spoke to Sam individually, and I spoke to Russ individually concerning it. If you guys would want to discuss it, I could give you his recommendations, and I think they're very valid. This guy knew exactly what he was talking about. He knew everything. And I think it's an easier fix than having to do all these studies and have all these people come in and redoing our whole plan. So whenever you'd like to speak to me as a board together or individually, if you want to assign somebody, I would be happy to go over his suggestions. And he said that he even was going to call the engineer and call the attorney to discuss it, because he's seen everything here. He spent time.
Yeah, and he did.
And he did.
And he did.
And that was a request as a regular citizen here. He came out and he did this. He could have done that for any of us, including anybody on the board members. And I think it's going to save us a ton of money. And I think, as Russ says, let's try this first. And if that doesn't work, then go to the bigger thing. You don't just amputate the guy's leg because he's got a boo-boo on it.
It's 2 separate things that we're talking about.
Well, he addressed the environmental issues as well.
I think what we need to do is talk to the engineer, have them,
Tony and Dave.
They have spoken.
yeah,
Yeah.
see what they have to say, right?
They call.
Okay,
And matter of fact, one of your suggestions is one that he came up with.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Correct. And again, I'm not sure what jurisdiction the county has over permit in this community. So, unless he's willing to sign and seal it, be careful.
right. So that's why I talked to the engineer. Okay.
Good. The last thing is from the audience comment. There was a question about that drainage structure between Evening Star and Sunset K.
Yeah.
And that's scheduled to be repaired on June 8th. Mitch's got some concrete hardened. We're going to fill that area in around the box and settle. And what it was old riprap. It's leaked through there. It's settled. And we're going to put a concrete slab over the top of it. It does drain the water from Newport Drive. It comes through a head wall, it goes overland for a while, and then it goes into this box to be eventually discharged into the canal. Well, what happens, of course, is it overtops the box and directly into the canal and through the pipe at the same time. So anyway, we're going to address the erosion and so forth and get it so it's safe.
Did you want to talk about 162?
163?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yes, Cam brought to our attention yesterday, I believe it was, the resident at 163 Sunset K he applied and received a license for a dock. That license was based upon an elevated access way. What seems to be going in right now, they installed a culvert, they put some fill around it. So instead of an elevated walkway, now they're looking to do something different. Minimally, they should have came in and asked permission, and then we could have modified the agreement, or if they would have knew up front what they wanted to do, then we could have permitted it that way, issued the license and so forth. But here we go, we're backing up and having to be reactionary to whatever our people do out there. So what's the board's pleasure on that?
Well, I don't think the culvert or whatever it is in between the houses, it's been resolved yet, Wood. So how do we move forward? You know,
This point, I've kind of put it on hold. I think maybe Tony has, correct me if I'm wrong. We'll just need to let it play out over the next month or two.
I guess the two distinct items. One is the dock we're talking about now specifically.
Yeah.
Right.
And the board or the district authorized a certain type of construction in a certain location, correct?
yes.
Correct.
And that was the predicate for them getting a building permit from Cuyahoga County.
Yes.
Correct. And so now it sounds as if the activity is beyond what the board authorized or approved. I would suggest contacting Cuyahoga County and saying, hey, the building permit that we, the district, approved building in our easement based upon reset of plan. This, what is going on now is not as approved. So asking them to look into it, maybe issue a stop work order, and I don't know if they've modified the building permit to address it. So I think that's important to check on today as soon as possible.
This is the ask forgiveness, not ask permission.
They already had permission, then they modified.
Yeah. What I can do is, the first thing I'll do is I'll go online and try to find the dock permit, see if it's been modified in any farmer way, and then we'll go from there, and then we can go ahead and turn it into code enforcement again.
This has to stop. It just has to stop, people. We can't, this is our job to make sure this stuff is right. And then people just do what they want. And then they expect us, again, as I've said this many times, who becomes the bad guy in this situation? The five of us, because it's ridiculous.
I would suggest that Dave also contact the dock contractor. Dave and Cal have been incredibly responsive to his requests by the contractors and homeowners to get the license or easement agreements to build. And so I guess it's also, I would suggest that the fact that it's the same dock builder that's building all the docks that's doing this, that's kind of offensive to the district as a whole, because they have expedited their review of these requests, multiple properties.
The other thing, David and I have talked about possible temporary solutions on that site where they filled in the drain, see if there's something that can't be done. Do you want to comment on that, Dave?
Yeah, my thought would be, let's go ahead and approach the property owner. Let's discuss things. Let's see if we can come up with an amenable solution to it. And I'm not saying do it at this board meeting. But if we have a consensus from y'all, that we'll approach the property owner and see if we can meet some kind of consensus and get a license agreement to do the work they've done or may need to do.
I just have one question. I myself feel sorry for the homeowner because I had to go through the same thing when I built my home. But have you been in communication with him at all? Because we did send a letter to the homeowner, didn't we?
Yes, and I believe we sent him a letter. It's been probably a few months ago.
Right. Did you ever get a response from the homeowner?
No, not really. Well, what I'm suggesting is that we reach out to the homeowner again and just have some one-on-one discussions.
For clarification, we talked to a homeowner that basically put the pipe in the swale and paved over part of the swale. Is that the one we're talking about?
Yes.
So we have had communications from them. We had, I think Pat Mills representing one or both of those property owners. And that's the property that the county found a violation code enforcement matter. based upon some representation, that said, oh, there is no violation, then we clarified it back to the county, said, oh, there is a violation. And that's the conversation that Dave partially had, and I partially had with Jack McKenna, the county engineer.
Yeah.
And I think what David is saying, that on that point, Jack McKenna had some possible alternative suggestions. Dave's a good engineer. I mean, Dave's a good engineer. Jack also, I've known Jack for over almost 35 years. I used to work with him years ago at Westinghouse. And so I think that's what David is suggesting, working into a possible solution that won't run afoul of South Florida and that would not run afoul of the county and would resolve the issue.
Yeah.
And I actually
Just
talked,
gotta stop.
yeah, I actually talked to Mr. Kent also, and I think his suggestion, the combination his and mine, that what we would do would be talk to them about that they would have to have a Florida licensed civil engineer look at the plans, make them compliant with FDOT for Florida. Then after that, they would have to come to us, apply for a permit, to give us our blessing, so to speak, to apply for a permit to Collier County to modify it and do it up to FDOT regulations. And then they would have to then modify what they have there so it meets all the code requirement. And all of that would be at their expense, not ours. That would be my suggestion to solve the problem.
But you're gonna try and talk and work with him to get this
We're
resolved.
right along those same lines too, that,
Without going into detail, I think what David said, so as opposed to designing it here, David working with them in terms of recommendation to Keller.
Please do. Do we have to do a motion?
I'll bring it back for the next board meeting, and then that would probably be the appropriate time for a motion to accept.
Well,
Yeah.
if it satisfies you, it's gonna probably satisfy, I don't know why it wouldn't satisfy us.
I think it needs to come back to the board.
The board's taking action once, and if you're gonna change, that can't be a staff decision.
I thought that, maybe I got this wrong though, but I thought when they put that in, I thought we spoke with Joe Levy and recommended he get a Florida engineer to look at this. And nothing ever came back on that other than having a county engineer.
There's been a lot of discussion back and forth on this whole matter. We've had Joe Levy get involved, we've had homeowners get involved, we've had one of the neighbor of 163 jump on board too and say that he's not a Florida registered engineer, but he's done the calculations and everything's fine.
But there's been a change out there too, that the house to the left has extended his driveway and it reaches out over that culvert now, which it never did before. But my understanding was that culvert doesn't even meet Collier County code.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yeah, so something, yeah.
Right. There need to be some upgrades for them to meet Collier County and state, basically Collier County adopts the state statutes.
Well, I think that what we need to do is along that lines, and as far as the culvert and filling in our swale with the pipe that's there, we have to turn that over to county and let them.
Again, what we may want to do is, let me have a meeting first with the homeowner, see if we can get this settled friendly before we turn it into a code compliance issue. And if it doesn't happen,
That's next.
that's next.
I'm saying that is part of the process.
That's part of the process.
And that's, Jack McKenna made a site visit, talked to a lot of the folks, so Jack knows the on-the-ground situation.
Right. So that's all.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
And the county can't give permission
No,
to do, or anyone else to do something in your easement.
Right.
they require us to say yes first.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's why we developed this license procedure, because people want to use our easements, and we get some kind of review and also a license issue.
Yeah. Because I don't think the question is whether it works or not. The question is, what do we do?
We just need to make sure all the i's are dotted and the t's crossed.
Okay.
Can we suspend the agenda so that we can go ahead and have,
Do the
and do the court reporting and
Well,
then
you just need to move that up right now, but everyone would have to
some of.
leave the
What I
building.
would suggest is, that the board take a 5-minute recess to allow the attendees to leave,
Right.
court reporter to set up, and then we start the closed session in an open session. Then we go into closed
Right.
door, then we come out into open session. We're gonna do that twice, because we have to
Right.
two distinct separate sessions. Now, I estimated half an hour each, and may take less. I don't.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do the rest of the agenda.
Yeah, then we'll go back to the regular agenda.
Okay. What the board may want, we want to give the, again, I would suggest a 5-minute recess, the public can stay here. And then when the board goes into closed door section, the public leaves.
Okay.
When they come out of the first closed door session, the public is allowed back in.
Mhm.
Then we go back into the closed door section.
Okay, all right.
Uh,
All right, so the board take, yes?
I'm thinking, okay,
I can't hear you.
Come on up, Mr. Frank.
Just want to clarify that you're gonna dig out underneath where the
Yeah.
spot is, so I don't have to worry about doing it myself.
It'd be great if you want to do it yourself. Anything to save the dish?
Yeah, you want shots?
I just want to make sure, I'm gonna take my name off the list. That's your-
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're good. So
All right, so
you
we're
need
gonna
a motion then?
recess for 5 minutes?
I think the chair can do that, just recess.
Yeah. Okay, you just do it.
So allow the
Okay.
court reporter to set up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lady right here.
You want to be over here?
Can you give us a time frame of what you?
Well, it'd be,
Well, no, again, we're gonna open up. We open up the open session. And we go to closed session. Where we first invite what's happening. You go back into the open.
Oh, I'm going to be leaving
Then we
and
go
sit here.
Well, sorry to see you go, but that
Good luck to you.
All right, good.
You're not something, are you?
Can I use?
No, I'm not leaving. Good. I'm going to go keep it safe. I think I'm going to be part of the closed session.
no, I'm just saying.
Oh, well, see you back there.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll be. That's all. Yeah. Let's try to get it done. Yeah. I mean, plus I call it's not. Although. I haven't figured out.
Yeah, Russ, I think
No,
if
not
you
the
fix,
contract for record.
fix things the way it was, we never flooded before. The only problem is, what about the new construction? We made them
That's what we're-
do
That's what we're keeping an eye
And then don't forget, Joe keeps saying that we don't have the easement.
We still being recorded. Are we still being recorded? I'll tell you, all this that's going on. You realize that this last bill here cost us $20 million. Everybody wants it. I figured we.
What's W9?
Cal was higher than you did.
I know, but Gabby, are you there?
Yes, Carl?
Okay, I think if during the closed session, I can just mute my mic. Is that right?
I can't hear you, Carl, very well. It's too loud there. What did you say?
I'm going to mute my mic, which will be the camera and everything. But I'm gonna mute my mic, and if you don't, then I'm gonna ask if you can hear me.
And assessments just for the, that's $600.
I don't think I'll be able to hear you, but then I'll unmute it, and then you tell me, I'll say something like, you know, time. Yeah, but
Carl, do you wanna text me or email me? Right now you're muted. You're all muted.
Yes, I'm muted. Hello? Hello?
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Did you ask
It's-
me to come unmuted?
No. I'm talking to Carl. Carl was trying to tell me something, but he muted. He
All
he
the
muted
phones.
yeah.
I muted.
Okay.
I just
All
can't
right.
understand what he's telling me. So
I know.
Yeah. Can you hear
I know,
me
it's
right
hard.
now?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
okay, bye.
Shooting again.
I don't know. Is the meeting? Yeah, Michelle is talking to you now.
I can't get that.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Michelle, can you hear me?
Oh, it's in the note.
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
So this stuff.
And I might have to make everyone else go out with the exception of Michelle. Tony?
Yeah.
Here's an option. We could ask everyone to leave and I can dismiss them from here, except for Michelle.
No, it's still. Oh, no.
Okay, so we've got to close this meeting and then reopen it.
Yes.
All right, everyone online, you understand that we're going to go into a closed session and I'm going to cut off the meeting, so nobody will be there. Michelle, I'm sorry, I don't know what else we could do.
So I can't listen?
Not if I close off the thing.
Okay,
Maybe-
how about if one of the members calls my cell phone and puts me on their speaker?
Okay. Tony?
No,
Can,
no, she cannot participate in the
No.
board meeting. You have to be
okay, even if just.
You don't know who's listening at the other end.
Yeah, no, Michelle says no.
Absolutely not.
So we'll, or when the meeting's over.
Yeah, we'll reopen it and,
But we'll call her. Tell her.
yeah, we'll call you, Michelle, and tell you when we're back.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thanks.
No, I'm sorry, but we're going to, have everyone leave this meeting, but we will reopen it in about an hour.
Okay, bye-bye.
Or less.
Or less.
After everybody has lunch.
Yeah. All right.